So many of you guys have been asking me, yo Skills, I want to run a pure DPS build. How would you run it? Well, most of you guys know I personally like running blues on my builds because I feel like we're already very powerful, and having that survivability allows you to play a lot more aggressive. But if you guys want to be able to push up to 2 million damage, as you guys were seeing in that range, well, this will be a build you guys can put together. Now, it's an all red build, so it's a pure DPS build, and it's running some of the meta pieces to allow you to pull off those high numbers. Now, what I will tell you though is when you do run an all red build, remember, not having any blue cores also affects your shield. So your shield is almost like a paperweight, right? Like you can put it up for a second, but if an enemy actually shoots at it, it will destroy pretty quickly. So ideally, you're gonna probably play this build from cover and then move from cover to cover, and then obviously try to take angles and just shred enemies as fast as possible, right? This build definitely will probably work better in a group because solo, all the enemies are focusing you. In a group, the enemies can focus your teammates, and then you can put out a lot of the damage. Now, I'm not saying you can't play this build aggressively. You definitely can, but again, with 0 blues on the build, you are definitely very squishy. So it's a different play style than I typically would play, especially if I'm playing solo. But again, if you like playing this very squishy style of play style, this might be the build for you. But let's dive into the full build and show you guys how I have this bad boy set up. So we will be running the Striker 4-piece because it is one of the meta DPS builds in this game. 15% weapon handling, 15% rate of fire, and then Striker's Gamble, which weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%. Now this does stack up 100 times. Now on the mask, we are running a Striker piece with weapon damage, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. For our holster is our second piece of Strikers. This is going to have weapon damage and critical hit damage. For our third piece of Strikers, we're going to be running the knee pads. This is going to have weapon damage and critical hit damage. And we will be running the Striker backpack on this one with weapon damage, critical hit damage, critical chance. Remember, the Striker backpack gives us a talent called Risk Management. It increases our total weapon damage gain per stack on Striker's Gamble from 0.65% to 0.90%. Now, I will tell you one thing I do like about the Striker backpack is it's very easy to keep that stack right at full stack, so you're constantly always having that at max damage. Now, if you do run something like a high-end backpack with Vigilance or Unstoppable Force, you have to have that uptime, and then you can maintain it. Vigilance, if you take any damage, well, then you have to wait for the uptime to come back up. So those are the two differences between running something with a high-end and a talent versus just running something like the Striker's backpack, which is so much easier just to keep up at all times. For the chest piece, we are running the Equalizer chest piece for that 5% rate of fire. I really enjoy this 5% rate of fire on my weapons. Now, we do have weapon damage, crit chance, critical chance mod, and then Equalizer comes with a perfect talent called Perfect Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. So that means we can get up to 24% extra weapon damage by running this chest piece. Now, again, I will tell you, if you guys want max damage, you'll probably go with something like maybe the Striker chest and then swap out the backpack for a high-end backpack with like Vigilance or Unstoppable Force. But with the Striker chest piece, keeping those stacks up might not be ideal, especially for anything that doesn't have very tanky enemies. So maybe if you're playing master difficulty or you're playing legendaries all the time, well, that's where Striker chest is a lot easier to keep up. But with any other content, I found that Striker's chest, you just kill stuff too quick, so it's hard to maintain that max stack on a Striker chest, which I believe right now the hardest hitting build is probably a Striker chest with maybe a high-end backpack with Vigilance or Unstoppable Force. Now for the gloves, we are running the Overdogs gloves, and this is going to have weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and it's going to have a talent called Weakest Link, where it amplifies weapon damage to the lowest ranking enemies currently in combat as per tier. Now, if you notice, tier 1 is going to be your hunters, your rogue leaders, your tank, your shields, blah, blah, blah. Tier 2 is going to have support, engineers, bodyguards. Tier 3 is any other enemy or skill proxies. So what it means is if you target the lower tiers first, so tier 3, then go to tier 2, tier 1, that's where you're going to see that max damage. So that's where the damage will fluctuate on this build. Now, I am pairing this up with the Lexington, and the Lexington is going to have that 1020 RPM because of the extra rate of fire. We have assault rifle health damage targets out of cover, and then I am pairing this up with a talent called Killer. Killing an enemy grants 70% critical damage for 10 seconds. For our mods, we have crit chance on the underbarrel, crit chance on the reflect sight, crit chance on the muzzle, and then we have the 20 sturdy extended 5.56 mag on here. So again, those are the mods you're going to want to have. That way you can get to that 55% crit chance on this build. Now, as you probably saw I was stacking with the ACS. Well, I'm using the stack broker. The reason why it has that higher RPM, we're sitting at 432 on this build. Shotgun damage, damage to armor, damage targets out of cover. For the talent, you guys can run exactly whatever you want. I personally like preservation, as I'm only using this to build stacks, but if I do get kills, and kind of give me that extra survivability, because killing an enemy repairs 10% armor over 5 seconds. If I get a headshot, that is additional 10%. And then since we're running the gunner class, an additional 10%. So if I happen to get a kill, headshot kill with that stack broker, guess what? 30% armor on kill. Nice survivability there. Worst case, 20% if I get a body shot kill. So again, that is why I do run preservation, but you guys can put a damage talent on there if you would like for a little bit more damage with the stack broker. Again, I said I just like using it for those stacks. Now on this build, I said we're going to be sitting at 55% crit chance. We have 117% critical hit damage. Now this goes up to 187% when we have killer procced on our Lexington. So that's a lot of critical damage on the build. 75% headshot damage. Remember, we have the 10% damage targets out of cover on the Lexington, plus 21% health damage. For your skills, you can run whatever you want. I have a Reviver Hive because I do not have any blues on this build, so I figured if I go down, I get picked back up. And then I am running the Crusader Shield. I'll tell you, the shield feels like it doesn't do anything for me. I'm so used to running at least like 2 blues, 3 blues, and having more shield health, but this has absolutely 0 blues, so the shield health on this is pretty minimum. And that's why builds are so important in this game, because some builds may fit your playstyle, some builds may not fit your playstyle. I'm so used to running, like I said, about 3 blues, that when I do run all reds, I definitely feel out of my comfort zone, because I am so used to running at least a few blues on my builds. And again, I told you, our damage is so insane right now because we do have 30 expertise. As you start to level that up, you'll start to notice that. But in general, our builds have gotten stronger and stronger. The weapons they've given us, the talents they've given us, the combinations we've been able to do. The damage is all there if you work with them. And then that doesn't even include if we're running seasonal modifiers or not, right? Because we do know if you do not have a companion with you, but you have the global modifier active, you can gain an additional 15% weapon damage on top of the 15% when you do have a companion, so that could be 30%. You also can gain 40% hazard protection instead of 20% with the companion, and 30% skill efficiency versus 15. So again, find the build that fits your playstyle and then adjust them. And if you see a build that you kind of like, but you play it and you're like, man, I'm going down a lot, maybe I should tweak it a little bit, do just that. But this build was for everybody who was kind of looking for something different than the Cheska chest piece with the Coyote's mask and then the 4-piece striker that we have been using for so long. But again, this build right here absolutely shreds. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love. See you guys in the next one. Hey, Nothing But Skills out.